I remember the first time we went to lunch, and you said, tell me about your fun, and I'm like going, I don't even know how to define that. So it's that you know I think that's a kind of a turning point there, that where you saying, okay, I have to figure this out a little bit more.
Welcome to More Business, More Life podcast. And today I have Chris Wilson on the show. And we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. But I will tell you that Chris is a very passionate man. He's got a lot of different organizations he's been a part of, a lot of volunteering and all of these things that he's very passionate about, like many of you listening to this. And in our More Business, More Life community, a lot of us are very passionate. A lot of us are pouring our life into things, but then we lose parts of our life. And then we're talking about how does that impact our health? How does that impact our family life? And then actually, how does it impact our results in the passion areas that we want? And how do we bring all that together in an even better way? And some of the things that Chris has learned from us in this community so that he can start actually achieving more in all areas of his life while still achieving the success in his life. So those are just a few glances of what we're going to talk about today. So maybe Chris, at first, just speak. I know, just so people can get a little bit of the background for you. I think the primary area that you've really put a lot of your life into is downtowns, right? Like around the United States, a lot of people know about Main Street America. Maybe you don't know that organization per se, but if you look around the United States and you see a lot of thought, investment, time into downtown communities. And would you say, is that safe to say that that's one of the prominent things of your career?
Absolutely. I mean, it's probably been about 25 to 30 years of my career, in fact. So starting out back in Fort Worth in a actually neighborhood business district in Fort Worth, trying to massage the area, trying to help all the people there do a grassroots solution to trying to bring their area back to life.
Okay.
Moved on to Warrenton, Virginia, another small town, 5,000 people, in a county about 40,000. Again, working with those property owners, working with those businesses to try to figure out how to improve what's happening there, how to gain more businesses, how to gain more customers, just have a better quality of life. And then, of course, then I went to Oklahoma City, and did their stockyards down there. And so there was that was the original stockyards. It's still working today, trying to again bring in the right businesses that were not tourist oriented, but real life cowboy types of industry there, to go with the stockyards, which is an actually working stockyard still today.
Wow.
Where they buy and sell cattle all the time. And again, trying to just make this a brand that is known to people, that can attract the right kinds of businesses that serve the right kind of customers. And at that point, actually, after that, I went to work for in downtown Oklahoma City when the Murrah bombing happened.
Oh.
So if you remember that kind of thing that happened in the Murrah building, where the Timothy McVeigh drove a truck up there, exploded it, brought down probably half the building at that point. That was a real turning point. And of course, I did a lot of the work on rebuilding that area with a number of other people. And then at that point, I kind of got out of it, and I was kind of getting burned out
Because
such a
that
way.
even to pause an interjection
Yeah.
real quick, but then to keep it going, this in itself is multifaceted.
Yeah.
Because I want to think of you, Chris, and as I met you, you're doing so many things, but even just this one thing is about business owners. It's about buildings and reconstructed, bringing back old areas back to life. I mean, so you're already not just doing one thing.
No.
You already have your hands in so many things at the same time.
Right. And in Main Street America, as you were pointing out, we follow a 4-point approach: is organization. So creating the organization to help these people find, the fundraising and the organizing of the actual business. And then, we do promotion. So promotions is a huge amount of time and a huge amount of energy that you have to put into to do all kinds of festivals and retail sales and other kinds of things. And then design is, doing the streetscape, doing the placemaking, doing buildings, as you were saying,
Yeah.
looking at your signage,
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
merchandising. So lots of different things. And then there's finally economic vitality when we're actually doing business recruitment, business development, all kinds of things. So as you are saying correctly, yes, we are hands in all kinds of areas. So if you think about more business, it's like crazy.
It's yeah, and so that's part of when, as I met you, that was one of the challenges, and just to add on to that, so I know when you were giving your timeline, you kind of took a break from that, being burnt out, and
Hmm.
you've kind of found yourself back into it, and
Yeah.
then not only that, you're volunteering in other areas. Um, this has kind of been a challenge of your life, and I don't know if this is the appropriate place to put it, but you also when that point of burnout, was that the same time that you started having those health issues? Uh,
No, it wasn't actually.
okay.
It was when I got back into it.
Oh, we're not, okay. So you went out, and then you
Yeah,
went back in, and
yeah,
then all of a sudden your body's like, no.
yeah. So I mean, it was something that Main Street for a lot of us is a passion. It's something that we enjoy doing, but we also end up spending a lot more time than we should. And that was when I had my stroke. Was when I was in Tennessee, and it the all the doctors were basically saying, I don't know what happened there. You don't have high blood pressure, you don't have high cholesterol. There's nothing here that shows us that there's any problem. And I'm like, oh, no, no. I know exactly what the problem was. Stress.
Stress.
Stress,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So you hit that point, and then what happened? So having that stroke, did it cause new decision? And so glad that
Yeah.
you're right here. I mean,
Yeah.
like, if you wouldn't say that out loud, I don't think anyone would know. Sometimes when you meet someone recovering from a stroke, you can tell. But
Right.
you look great, Chris. And so from that point, like, what new decisions came from that situation?
So one of the great things about having the stroke was that I had an excuse to say no.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, even though somebody would say, can you get involved in this? Or are you going to get involved in this organization? Can you do this promotion or this festival or something like that? I got to say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the unfortunate thing is that as you get better, as you recover, sometimes those things keep creeping back in because you want to be involved. It's not something
Yeah.
that, I
Yeah.
didn't want to be, but I had to say no.
Yes.
But as you continue on with life, there are new things then, and you are, you're grateful for people to ask you
Yeah.
to be a part of things.
Almost honored.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then we might be fast forwarding on timeline here, but so when I met you, it was kind of that, right? Maybe you're working less than you did in the big heyday, but maybe
Hmm.
not, because when I met you, you're like, okay, Steve, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. And so it does feel like, because your recovery and the fact that you are doing so well, it's almost like the yes Chris came back,
Yes.
and you were like, I think one of the lists you gave me, I didn't count it before this interview, but I want to say it was like 10 to 15 different organizations that you're helping, even if it's like a little bit, but your energy goes there, even if you're at like one board meeting a quarter or whatever. But
Right.
you devoted, and it's such a beautiful thing. Like, I'm not trying to dishonor it. Like, it is
Hmm.
beautiful what you're doing, but at a certain point, like, everyone loses. Because if we lose Chris, or your family loses Chris, or these organizations, like, everyone loses. And so sometimes we forget about that. And it's easy for us because we're so passionate.
Right.
So maybe let's go to that point. Like, when you and I first met, this is kind of what's going on. There's
Hmm.
almost like a little bit of a rewind. Like, you're starting to go back to a little bit of the old Chris ways. And tell me if I'm wrong, but
Sure.
then, so in that, if that's true, then how is it affecting you?
Well, I think that one of the things that I remember the first time we went to lunch, and you said, tell me about your fun, and I'm like going, I don't even know how to define that. So it's that you know I think that's a kind of a turning point there, that where you saying, okay, I have to figure this out a little bit more. You've asked me something about having a life, and I'm not going, well, my life is seems to be work. And my family would be suffering. I mean, they certainly suffered all the times that I was in my earlier days, because I didn't see the correlation. Okay. It was always like, I'm supposed to be there 24/7. I'm supposed to be ready to serve the customer, but the customer, I had to remember that the customer is not the customer at work, it's the customer at home.
Yeah.
So, uh, you know, in this time, it was a lot of when I'm in Bartlesville, I'm working a lot more, doing a lot of involvement in community, um, and still, my wife would say, "You're working a lot. You're involved in too many things. You need to get rid of some of this stuff." Oh yeah, yeah, I understand. Sure, I know. To me, it wasn't that bad. To them, it's same old thing. So, I think it's having you been a part of my life. It was more of now saying to my wife, "Okay, I'm now dedicated to doing something about this."
Yeah.
And so, I think that some of the things that many of the things that you've been involved with, have put on, as far as your accelerator days and success days and things of that nature. You've always said you've got to be honest in these things, otherwise it doesn't help.
Yeah.
And it helps when other people see your honesty, and they can also be honest with themselves as well. And I see that too when I'm on those calls with those other people. They're opening up, and it gives the permission, you might say, for me to open up as well.
Yeah, yeah, I always use the analogy. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Chris. Is that I always bring up the analogy. It's like, if we don't acknowledge where we are and we're not honest with that, then how do we know? How do we know how to get to where we want to go? Because you might know where you want to go, but that's like, you know, calling for an Uber and then you don't give them your current location
Right,
because you're embarrassed by it or something. How do they know where to come pick you up?
right.
Right. I know it sounds ridiculous, but this is what we do when we ignore where we are. Then it's really hard to make a map out of there. And then me being a coach, I absolutely need to know that so that I can help make the map to make Chris's life better. Now, I want to go back to something that you said because it really, I think, hit home. You know, we're talking about our customers or our clients in our business. And again, you're so passionate about it. It's easy to pour your love and your life into it.
Mhm.
But then we realize you also have your home customers, you know, your family. And they're really important customers. And how we tend to, because there's so much love there, it's interesting how we can overlook that. Even when I used to put date nights on my calendar or like time with my kids, some of my friends would say, "Why do you have to put that on your calendar? If you love them, you would automatically do it." And I said, "No, it's the opposite. If I don't put it on my calendar, then I'm going to get lost at work, and then I'll be like 8 p.m. and I'll miss it." But the most important things are the things that we put on our calendar. And so by you identifying, okay, what is my wife customer, quote unquote,
Mhm.
what's their experience,
Right.
right? Like just like we would with a client.
Yeah.
How was the experience? Did you enjoy it? Was there anything I could do better? Like these are things we would want to know as a business owner
Right.
so that we can make the next customer experience better. But then we forget to like interview our own partner or our kids. Like, how can we make the house a better experience?
Right.
So how now, thinking that idea that you just brought up, that hey, I have customers at home as well as customers in my work life, that concept, how has that changed things for you as you think about it that way?
So, one of the things that I think was important, that you brought up one time about, you followed your footsteps of your dad.
Yeah.
And I saw the same kinds of things. He provided, he was a great dad. He was involved in a number of things too, but he also worked a lot, and was away from the house. It seemed like the office was something that he liked more than being at home. Not necessarily because of us, not because of my mom or anything like that. It's just that he just spent more time there.
Yes.
Um, And so, I fell into that. I basically that same kind of idea. I didn't, but I took it a little bit differently in that I kind of, well, he didn't necessarily ignore us. I basically did ignore. Okay. And so, and it wasn't because I wanted to. I just thought that the family, I don't know, maybe they're on autopilot. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's always been something that I've had to readjust, and say, okay, look, if I'm going to make this really better, I mean, I've got my daughters have already grown; they're already out of the house, except for one, and she's already 19 years old, and so she's really moving on. But I need to have a good relationship with them, and also teach them too that that's what I did was not the way to do
Yeah.
it. And that and especially for my wife, who put in if anybody ever says that a housewife does nothing, ps, they
Yeah.
do everything, they do
Right.
absolutely everything.
It's
So
24/7.
yeah, and they need to be paid way better than what they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and paying is my time,
Yeah. Yeah.
so to help them, to help my kids, and be there for them as much as possible. So yeah, through a lot of the things that you are teaching, like for instance, organization, energy better rather than time, um, being able to plan your day before, the
Yeah.
next day, and all those different things that are they're small little steps, but they're things that lead to big differences.
Well, and thank you for bringing that all and sharing that. And thank you for being so transparent on here because the purpose of the show is to really share these stories so that we can help change other people's lives. And so I really do appreciate you appearing here with us, Chris. And I'm curious then with the way that it was and you noticed this and so this is why you wanted to change, right? Your
Right.
own health issues, dealing with recovering from a
Yep.
stroke, knowing that you're a passionate man, knowing that you're pouring into your work, but also knowing you want to pour into your family and then starting to come together. I know there's many things that we could look to, but if we were just to pick one, what thing do you think or which one do you want to pick that made a turning point? Like what one concept that we could dig a little deeper on that's made maybe the greatest impact from our time together to make
Hmm.
change? Which one would you pick?
I don't know. I mean, there are definitely things. For example, when you said um, uh, take a walk, take a break.
Yeah.
Certainly, there were it, all my life. I would say is that I am number one. I have some learning disabilities that I've had to deal with, so I've had to be diligent and work harder. I felt than anyone else to try to achieve the same thing. Okay, and that meant putting in the time, putting in a lot more time to do things. I mean, I found myself writing emails that would take me 3 hours because I have to go back and do the spell checking all the time. This is way before Grammarly and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so the idea of, okay, wait a minute, you don't have to push through all this. Take some time, take a break, go take a walk. Um, you know, get out of the office. Don't just get out of the office itself. Get out of the building.
Yeah.
Okay, and just take a break and walk around and clear your mind, and then come back to it. I think that's helped a lot. I've realized that it did not, that I don't need to push through, and 6-10 hours zoom right through it, that I can actually take that break, which I think that did lead to me coming off the hours, um, and also basically saying, okay, I need to take that walk at the end of my day as well. So, planning to say, okay, 4 o'clock, 4:15, I'm starting to wrap up so that I can actually get out of the office,
Nice.
even get out of the office at 5, which was, I would say, practically unheard of. So I am now going home at 5, not, staying till 6. Sometimes I do have to wait, go through until 6, but I don't go I don't know the last time I was there till 8, for example.
But that
So
was happening
oh
before.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot, a
Yeah.
lot.
And so now, because you're just a simple thing like adding walks into your day, has caused you to, really put the time down. So you're getting home earlier, back to your family, which is very important to you. And so can you tell me what is having that do for you? Like in the day, like taking like middle of the day walks, and then being able to go for a walk before you go home. Can you talk about what is having that do for you?
Well, I think it just gives me a better peace of mind. I mean, it's something that is, um, it gives me, I guess, time to break from office to home. Okay. And so that was something I really didn't have before. It was more of even when I was leaving at 8 o'clock at night or even longer sometimes, I'd be thinking on the way home
Yeah.
of the things I didn't get done or what I have to do tomorrow. I mean, I'm doing plan tomorrow today, but I was doing it in the wrong way. Okay. Just trying to catch up, you might
Right.
say.
Right.
Um, and so it was, it gives me the ability to completely break and give my attention to my wife now and to my youngest daughter that needs that. And I think she's noticed a difference too.
Nice. So you're able to put your attention there instead of, being there physically, but your mind is elsewhere. Now you're there physically and mentally for your family because you transitioned through that. And so that's what I was going to follow up on the
Mhm.
same topic. So now taking these breaks, truncating the working hours, what would you say the biggest results of that has come into your life? If you're, I know you already brought some of them up, but maybe if you like just point out the biggest result of this thinking of taking breaks and going for those walks.
Um, well, I think I mean, it's hard to say. I guess I think that it is it's changing. You might be a paradigm shift. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And because it's something I have not experienced before. I've wanted to experience it, but never have experienced it.
And now you have.
And now I have. And so in some cases, I'm still kind of grappling with it and saying, okay, is this, is this real?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, kind of like pinch me,
Yeah,
pinch me,
exactly.
please. But but you're already like, I mean, I know you already brought up the result because you're showing up, you're noticing, even you said your family's noticing that you're there and you're present. Um, so there are results that are
Right.
already happening, and maybe more will come because
Right.
you're just new to this.
Yeah.
But just wanted to point it out.
Yeah, I mean, and you alluded to the fact that I did, you know, reduce the number of people or the number of organizations I'm involved with. And you're right. I had a list of about when I sat down finally and looked at all the things I was involved with. It was about 16 things.
Oh, so I was pretty close.
Yeah, you were pretty close. And so one of the things that I told you is that okay, I've got to break from a number of things. So I took out 3 major leadership things that were a part of this, and one of them was a big leadership thing that I had committed to, and I said no, I can't commit to that. Which that was a big step.
It's big, and someone might be listening. I don't jump in. I want you to continue, Chris, but I just want to interject this that if we do those things, we think saying yes is the thing that's going to be more honorable, and maybe it gives us badges of credits or something. But if we hurt ourselves, if you sink back into more health issues again in the future, then we lose you and all the goodness. And so for me, sometimes saying no to things allows us to give more to the world. And we think of that as,
Mhm.
not, doesn't seem logical, but it is. Um, and then even think, like you just said, your family, even though you're showing up at home, you're actually not there because you're thinking about work. How are we showing up as on those boards or on those commitments
Right.
if we're like depleted?
Right.
So really, in some way, by us saying no, because I've also had to do this too, the better we get at things, the more times we get asked, right?
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
you're good at things, people ask you for help.
Right.
But sometimes we have to say no, and then they get someone else that's also competent but has more energy.
Right.
So I think we think that the organization is going to lose if we say no, but sometimes we all win because they get someone that's going to be more present,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think that I did start to realize that there are a number of organizations I was on that was that I'm like, I just don't have time to read things, or I don't have time to be involved. I don't have time to come to the organization meetings. So you're not present,
Yeah.
and it doesn't do any good for you or them to be that way. And I've always said to a lot of times where board members stay on and stay on and stay on nonprofit organizations, and they're always talking about, well, we can't ever find anybody to step up and do things. I mean, like other board members won't do it. And I've often said, if you don't step aside, then no one will ever step up.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I was doing that same thing.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the most important. Listen to yourself.
Yeah, we tend not to do that. Many of us human beings, I myself, I can totally relate to that. So with me, as you know, in 2021, I was paralyzed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, came into my life, and my team did step up and it's the same thing as I think you were saying, maybe it was off camera before we did this, but how it's kind of a forced hand where, you know, your stroke allowed you to say no. It's like giving you permission. And
Mhm.
for us that are go-getters, we wouldn't have said no to certain things, but because we literally couldn't do it, we had to. But then in that moment, it was good for my family and my team because my family stepped up in new ways
Mhm.
because I wasn't there to do it. And
Right.
then they got to prove to themselves they could do it. My team said there was things they never would have thought they could do
Right.
because they just always assumed I would do it. So there are benefits for stepping aside. And
Right.
what can be taken away from what I'm saying and what you're saying right now is people listening to this, step aside before you get hurt.
Right.
Because learn from us. Like, Chris and I aren't saying, oh, go have a stroke or go get paralyzed and then your life's going to change. Hopefully
It will.
it will. It's changed
Not
both of
necessarily
our,
good all the time.
yeah, it's changed our lives. But then what if you're listening to this right now and you start making new decisions before something like that happens?
Right.
So use our stories, I hope,
Yeah.
that you can make new decisions in your life before that crisis comes. Use our crises to forge change in your life.
Right. And I think there are you never know what God's going to give you, what's going to come up in your life. But I mean, I've seen that the changes that I have done allowed me to have the time and the energy to tackle new things, to tackle new issues that come up in the life that I probably would never have had the time or the issue or the energy to tackle. And so and I can put all of my energy into those things to tackle that,
Nice.
instead of just like, well, okay, I'll get to it, or you know I know that it's a big issue that we're having to tackle, but Pamela, can you take it?
Yeah.
It's like, no, 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 don't do that. you
Yeah,
know
yeah, and when you have 16 other things, that might be your only option, but when you have less things, you can be much more effective,
Right.
I guess is the word. So now thinking of this, just come full circle. So like taking more breaks, getting more focused, eliminating things that even though you're capable of doing, it doesn't mean that they are the things you're doing. So starting to reduce the amount of activities you're doing so you can even be more successful. When you take all of that, what do you think the overarching positive impact on your life, or how would you describe like I know it's still manifesting because you're still in it right
Mhm.
now, but like what are you already noticing that's coming back in a positive way into your life by making these new decisions?
Well, I think one of the things that's maybe helping, or is an impact, is actually external. Okay, so it's not necessarily internal. That's I mean, all those things are certainly helping, but maybe I found another passion in helping more people achieve the same thing.
Okay.
All right. So whether it's a board that I'm on right now, that I'm like going, okay, I want to help you achieve the same thing. Because, for example, in Main Street, I know about what Main Street managers go through. I know what state coordinators go through. They are exactly the same as me, and they work hard and everything, but it is very hard to separate. So that's the kind of thing that I'm like going, I need to give back. I need to show them a different way if I possibly can. And I also feel that I'm helping in different ways in the organizations that I have, that I'm still involved with, that I can devote better time to them, more, uh, just my and increase my the visibility, increase the ability to help them in different ways. I may not have all of the in some of these national boards I'm on, I may not have the contacts to bring millions of dollars in, but I have contacts in different ways to bring in different kinds of benefits.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you're able to bring more effectiveness to the organizations you're in, bringing your value forward, and then now feeling like this new renown, like renewed energy inside yourself, having that for the colleagues that you have in your life that
Hmm.
are still grinding, and be able to bring this new insight into their life, and that's
Right.
bringing you joy
Yeah.
because you're able
Well, and
to
I
do.
think that's important that you bring up joy, is that you have to have. I mean, it does bring you more joy to have those particular things open up to you. Open up the opens the family, opens your just basically having more time to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Although we have to figure out what that is sometimes.
Like, yeah, yeah. Well, when it comes,
Excuse me.
it's okay. When it comes to working so much, like you're not the first person that said that, you start talking about what is fun, and then you don't even know because you lost, and I guess that way to be creative in that, because you're so used to, sacrificing that it's not even part of the menu. So
Right.
when we start having more time through these methods, you get to dream again. Like,
Right.
what new things do you want to do?
Well, and it's funny that one of the things I'd always think about was that when I was in Main Street again and doing the downtown and commercial district revitalization, I would go to festivals, for example, in other places, and I couldn't enjoy the festival because I was always going, "Oh, what are they doing? Oh, we need to do that too. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, what are they doing over here? Oh, here." Am I going, oh my God, I'm supposed to be here to have fun,
Yeah,
but I can't.
yeah,
Well, now I can go and I can enjoy it. I can do all the things that a festival's for, so I don't look at all the logistics and things like that.
yeah. So basically, you're looking at life through new eyes.
Yeah. Whole new
Yeah.
lenses.
That's so beautiful, Chris. I'm so glad to hear the impact that you're already having in your family's life. You're able to get home sooner. You're able to be present with your family. You're able to make more impact with your colleagues and the organizations that you're a part of now. You're able to put more focus there, and then you're able to enjoy life and enjoy the festival. So you're really getting a multifaceted result from this, and you're giving back to others to now see the same light that you found
Right.
through our work together. So I
Hmm.
appreciate you sharing all this. I guess I'm curious, maybe just before we wrap up with our last few questions, I'm curious, are there any other results that you think should be highlighted? Like, so someone is out there thinking, oh, this more business, more life thing, like, cause even as you said, is this real? Is it possible? Um, you know, what now, not only is it possible, because you just illustrated that it is, but what would you say, if any other results that we haven't mentioned yet, or if you want to emphasize any of the ones a little further that we have already brought up?
Um, well, I think one of the other pieces of more business, more life is that you can't. Well, you have to dedicate yourself, okay, to the process. So you have to make that commitment to do it. I mean, because if you can be just like any other time and say, okay, yeah, I'll take this class, and then you take the class and then you forget, okay, or you go off and do the same thing you always did. I think one of the great things about your process is that you have a system to help us along the way, and that you also have coaches that continue to keep in touch with you, and you keep in touch with us. So I mean, it's you're there, you're present, and it's always and there's always somebody. It's not always well, even though we have a lot of Zoom things, but it's still it's not like a you go take these courses and they're somewhere else, you
Yeah.
might say. There is a connection to people,
Yes.
real people, and it's not all recorded. Let me put it that way. So
Yeah.
like all these like I said, when we all get together for the classes or the on-site classes or even in Zoom, you see all the people that are live, and they're going through the same things you are, and you get to actually interact with them and say, hey, I think I know what you're going through, and maybe I can give you some feedback as well. And that causes joy to not only you but also them as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
lifting them up, being the cheerleader for them as well.
Yeah, you can give as well as gain.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm curious to go one layer deeper if we can. So what I'm hearing is that, not only do you get the lessons and the frameworks and the systems, but then you also have, the coaching, consulting in the group settings, in the workshops, in person or online, so that you can help integrate that into your life. Right. And then, in any integration, right, there's the ups and downs. Like, did this work for me? Did it not? And then you have that interaction with us, as you described. Having all of that in one program, what would you say is the biggest impact or result from having all of what you just described? What does having that do for you?
Well, I think that again, it's something that is that it makes the difference, I think, between buying an online course or buying even an on-site class. You might find a seminar or something like that, where you're only going to take it one time, whereas this time is ongoing, and it changes with you. Okay, it continues on where you are. You're alongside with us.
Yeah.
Okay. So and you understand that there are going to be times where you're going to have to, as you say, reset. And not only do you tell us that you do need to reset, but here's how to reset.
Yeah.
And don't worry about it. It happens to everybody.
Yep.
But so like I said, that's a difference between taking that one-time thing that you think is going to be great, and I don't know, because I've never had a business coach before or a life coach before, so I don't know how much time they actually devote to you. But I think that now I have a something to compare it to.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might disappoint me. Who knows?
Yeah, it can go both ways. I mean, I think there's so many people out there that are doing good work. It's finding the person that's meant for you. That's like anything, right?
Yeah.
There are many people that can do the talents that other people have in the world. And it's just a matter of that. And like anything, there are people that are better than others, right?
Right.
Just like could be
Well,
an artist or a musician.
and you have that self-help books, and have the 7 habits and all the different things like that, and you can read and read and read. But the other problem with reading, and like I said, taking the seminars and things like that, you get taught, and then you are left to figure it out,
to implement on your own.
right? Whereas in this case, you're helping us to implement and teaching us that, okay, this may be good and this one may not be so good for you. And here's how to implement those 7 habits. Here's how to implement those kinds of things. And again, it's very liberating to have those people with you that you talk to on a regular basis in the chats and things like that. You know them.
Yes.
And they become your friends, and they
Yes.
become your mentors as well, and you become their mentors.
Yes.
So
Community. Yeah.
community.
It's something that I often say, and because I've been doing this a long while, I can find like short words that have meaning to it. But you can, there's a thing, we can teach you or we can do it together.
Right.
And that's the difference, right?
Mhm.
And it's a little bit of both, right? Because there is teaching and then there is togetherness, but it is the thing that I found to make the highest result. because if we walk together, it's like having a guide. You know, you can buy a map and try to go around anywhere, or you can get someone from that town that's lived there their whole life, that not only are they going to show you around without missing a beat, not only are you not going to get lost, but you're going to learn a heck of a lot more from all the under things that no one else knows because they know those things. And what's specific about business and life when it comes to this coaching is that it's how does it work for me? Right. Because when you take a class and there's generalities, it's like, this is what works for most businesses. Then the other thing that I've found that I've heard from other people in more business, more life, and then you can either, say if it validates for you or congruent, but that then you get that, how does this fit like a glove onto my business? You know, it's not just some random idea. And I think that's where the challenge happens, right? So you go to the seminar, you read the book, then you go to apply it to your business and it doesn't fit exactly right. It's like getting something off the shelf or getting something tailor-made, right? Where it's stitched to you. So in more business, more life, this is what I try and strive to do, is that I make it for Chris. I make it for all these people. And then you do notice the overlaps, like you brought up in the community. It's like, oh, wow, I'm not the only one with this issue, but I'm also the only one that's Chris.
Right.
So you get a little bit of both. You get that uniqueness and say, okay, how is this going to work for Chris? But then also that we can all learn from the community. So I don't know if that adds more to it, but that's kind of my perception of doing this for so many years.
Yeah. I mean, even when you have the workbook and things like that, when we were showing up on, what did you call that in the Bartlesville?
Oh, the workshop. Yeah. Well, just the more business, more life workshop. That's what we call it. Yeah.
But I mean, you get the workbook and it has the questions in there. And then we start to delve into how does that really get into what questions are going to be specific for me. Yeah. And you help us tailor those things. I mean, yes, it's exactly you follow the format, and you have to follow the format because, even though we all say, oh, I'm sure there's something in there we can probably leave out or something, but no, it's not.
Yeah.
You have to follow the format if you're going to succeed, because it's been tried. It's been, tried and true for years. It's been proven. So, I think that's sometimes that's the fault of our human nature, is that, there's got to be something different,
We got to make it more complex.
Yeah, we got to make it more complex.
If it's not complex, it's not good enough. And I found the most success comes in simplicity.
Yeah.
And so we try to do it. We keep it simple and make sure that you can do it. And if you can't do it, then we help you either get someone to help do it for you, or we find a way to teach you how to do it. And that's quite simply.
And that could be something that, I mean, if you come back to all the time that, I've talked to you about the, changing my habits at work and things like that. That probably does describe it a lot better, is that I'm now simplifying everything.
Yes. Yep. And then it takes a repetition in that, because you simplify, you come back, like even like you said, is this possible? And then you're like, oh, wow, it worked. And then what else can I simplify? And so there's this ongoing, and that's why the relationship goes on. Some is for months and some of our clients for years, but then you're constantly leveling up. And so it's so beautiful. Well, is there anything else you think we missed? Anything else that you think should be highlighted? Well, then
I mean, you could dig deeper if you want to. I'm not sure what I can tell you.
Yeah. And, maybe we'll have a part 2 on this, because I know you're in it now. Like Chris is in our program right now, and we're happy to have you, and you do add value. And I love helping you. And I love that your family's getting more time with you. And then even the organizations that you've narrowed down to give your commitment to are getting more value from you too. Like, so you're able to give more.
I'm not finished. I'll be moving a few more out of there.
Yeah. And the thing is, you will live longer and help more, actually.
Probably so.
Yeah. Because when we max out our battery every day, the battery dies, but if you don't max your battery out, then Chris will be here a lot more years, and you'll be able to help. You'll actually be able to help more organizations. You might go back to some of the ones you said no to and say, hey, I'm ready. I finally can help you. Maybe, but let's give that a chance.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess just in closing, just a direct question. If someone out there is listening to this and they're like, oh, wow, I really like this. Maybe they're like you. I've never had a business coach or a life coach. I want more business, more life. And they're on the fence, like, because a lot of us, and I don't know where like you said, you've never had a coach before. It's kind of a rare thing to like invest in ourselves, to like actually write a check. We'll buy a car, we'll buy a house, we'll buy a refrigerator, but then it's like, wait, buy something for me, like someone to guide me, like a coach.
Yeah.
Maybe share like if you had any feelings about that, and then like how did you overcome that to decide, oh, I want the help, you know, just for because, and this is for the other viewers out there that are on that same fence.
Sure.
Maybe they're there and they don't know to make that decision. What would you say to them?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's almost like when you are got, I don't know whether it's mental health issues or you got alcoholism or some kind of an addiction. You need to know that you want it.
Yeah.
You need to, say, okay, enough is enough. And if it's, if you've hit bottom, I don't know if there is a hit bottom on this thing, but I think there is something where you finally realize the fact that, okay, I need some help. I can't do it alone. I've tried everything. I make the promises that I'm going to do it, and something always comes up. So I think that it's important that if you're serious about really wanting to change, then this is the time that you can say, okay, I found something here that I think works. I hear that other people have had success in this, which is very important. You like the Google reviews, you want to read all those things and find out that, hey, this has 5 stars, wonderful. So it's just, I think that it's really about commitment and saying, don't, not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because it's again, it's like delegation in a way. You can do it all yourself if you want to, but you would be surprised how much more you would get if you delegated it.
Yeah. And wisdom that you wouldn't even have thought. And even if you're not, you even could have someone that, statistically is not as smart as you, but they're taking an outside perspective.
Yeah.
It's hard to see ourselves for what's going on when we look in the mirror. And when you get someone else say, oh, why are you doing it that way?
Right.
Oh, because I've always done it this way. We don't even notice because it's a habit.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, I mean, a lot of people will also say, oh, it's mumbo jumbo. I mean, I don't want, who knows? There's this guy with this big long beard. What am I going to say about this? I mean, geez.
Yeah. Right.
You gotta, like I said, you gotta look past.
Yeah.
And with everything, it's not looks, it's what's inside, right?
Yes. And then what comes into your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like what you said, just to highlight what you just said. One, decide yourself that you want change. Decide that it's time to ask for help. Because I too was that. I was completely embarrassed. I thought if I ask for help, that means I'm a loser. That means I've failed. It's like the last option. Many of us grow up that way, that, asking for help or, even getting healing or whatever you want to call it means that we failed or we're a loser. And it's not true. Like many of the people that have succeeded got help faster than us.
Right. And I think too that some people will say, you need therapy. And that is probably something that is in a lot of people's minds, that saying, okay, is this therapy?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's really not therapy. Okay. I mean, it could be therapy if you really wanted it.
It could be therapeutic.
It could be therapeutic, but it's not you're not going into an office or a place and having a session with a therapist.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
So I think that breaking down those barriers is important. Those perceptions that you have, you just have to, again, it's a paradigm shift for yourself, and you just have to, you have to go with it.
Yeah. And I like what you're saying too there, because it is different. There is mindset shifts. We are reframing our mind.
Mm-hmm.
So there is psychology, but it's not in the traditional way.
Right.
It's not, you're going in for a quote unquote therapy session, but we're working through your life to overcome those limiting beliefs while we implement the business strategies so that you can have the logistical effect,
right,
be able to work less, earn more, be more with our family, and work through all the beliefs. Because really, like we all know, you and I both had it, and we illustrated in this conversation, we believed that there was no other way. We believed that if I don't work hard, I'm not going to be good enough. If I don't join all these boards, I'm not giving enough.
Yeah.
And then, but then we also believed we needed to be fathers, and we needed to be partners to our spouses, and so many other things that were getting neglected because of some of these decisions. So we did reframe our psychology, but we did it in a way that's very strategic so that we could have this result. So I think it's beautiful what you're saying.
Well, I guess that, but one of the things that we've spent a lot of time on my life part, what we haven't said is more about the business side, because I think you have to remember that if you're not going to be going to business, more life for just more life.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Part of this is the more business, and I think a lot of us would probably say, those of us that have been in business a long time and worked harder, we probably are not looking at more life first.
Yeah.
We're looking at more business and more sales, or more, income or revenue or whatever that might be. So for some of us, there may be, oh, I like that part better, and then this other thing will come along with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, it just depends on the person, where they are in life and everything. But I do want to make sure that people understand that it's not one or the other; it's both.
It's both. And I love that you say that, and it is a good way to kind of come into some conclusions here, because more business and more life, for me, it's required to put them together, because often, and I found it myself, and I found it with many of my clients, and some of them millionaires, they came to me and they wanted more millions, and I'm like, what will having that do for you? And I remember one woman, she contemplated for a second, and I was just really quiet, and she said, "Oh, you're right, Steve." Like, I objected, which I had not. She said, "Well, I guess I don't need more money. I thought making, millions would have given me my life. And now here I am coming to your office to ask for more millions because I thought that's the answer. But really, I still am not happy. I don't have the life that I want." And I think that's when we put all of our dedication to business. That is the misconception. We think that if we go earn, we're going to have all this abundance of money, and like, while what is it, or the French say, voila, all of a sudden we're going to have what we want. And then you show up. I always say, like, that's like buying your dream house, hiring the architects, but give them no information about what you like, and they build this big old mansion, and then you show up and you hate it because it's not what you designed. So what more business, more life very simply do, we look at the experiences you want, we design your life. And so we do start with the life a little heavy, because then we're going to build your abundance and your business around that. So it's by design. It's not by chance. Right. And if you go just get money, you're kind of leaving it to chance. And in fact, one thing is, a lot of people don't get a quote. Like, so I've had people come to my life, they're like, "I want a personal chef." I'm like, "Great. How much does that cost in your area?" And they're like, "I don't know." I said, "Then how do you know you can't afford it?" And I can't tell you how many clients, Chris, they go back and do the budgeting, and they're like, "It's only $200 more a month," because they buy all your groceries. They go to the grocery store. If I calculate all my time and money invested, I only need to go find like one more client, and I could actually afford that. And so this is the same misconception. If we just go for some random big number to have our retirement, we have done nothing by design.
Right.
Just like all the business you've done, you have a budget. Okay, what's it going to take to do this building, all that. So we need to say, what do I want in my life? What's it going to take to have that life? Then we literally have a number. Now we can say, oh, and how many of my clients are like, "I'm way closer than I thought. I'm actually closer to the retirement dreams that I've had than I thought," because they just kept going for more.
Right.
Well, I'm just going to get more money, and that's going to answer all the questions, and it doesn't. So that's why more business and more life, for me, it's a requirement that they're together, they're integrated, because then we design our life and we build our business around that. We end up achieving more in both.
Right.
So thanks for teeing that up. And then, for me, just personally explaining my mindset around that. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me. It's a pleasure to be able to, have this time together, but also just to pour into your life, because you're a person that's going to continue to make changes in other people's lives. And so for me, it's even more of an honor, because as I help you, I get to see the ripple effect of all the people that you get to help. So it's, so thank you for,
well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, watching this conversation. I hope this is valuable. We always say every one of our episodes, we love feedback. And so if you're on our newsletter, you can hit reply. Yes, I said that. Hit reply. We actually read that stuff. Let us know what was the most valuable part of this conversation with Chris Wilson, so that we understand it. And then if you have any questions, then we can, reach out to Chris, or you can come back to us. And if you're not on our newsletter, it's very simple. You can text WOW, WOW, to 72,000. So that's 72000. Text the word WOW, and it will prompt you to join our newsletter for free. And then every week, you're going to get more information around more business, more life, more lessons, more conversations like this. So this is us living to our mission. We really want to give more business, more life to as many people as we can. So we hope you found value in this. Until our next episode, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the More Business, More Life podcast. I hope you got value. And if you did, we have so many more things for you at stevenapolitan.com. You'll be able to connect with us on social media. We are active. You can ask us questions. I look forward to having you on the next show. Until then, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.